Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. You see, since Korgoth was confirmed very recently that he would be the legendary lord for the Nurgle forces, I've been thinking about many other Nurgle characters. As not only would they be perfect legendary lords or legendary heroes for the Nurgle faction, but also potentially for the Warriors of Chaos faction, and even for Norsca too. So with that being said, in this video I want to go over a bunch of different named characters throughout the history of Warhammer Fantasy for Nurgle specifically, and see if any of them could fit with either the Nurgle Monogod faction, the Warriors of Chaos faction, or Norsca. Of course, I'm going to be going mostly through the army books. Some end times characters might be referenced. Yes, Creative Assembly don't like doing the whole end time stuff, but in lore they existed prior to the events of the end times, so technically canon. It's a weird thing, plus we can't keep ignoring the fact that Creative Assembly have been sneaking end time stuff in a lot, yet still go, oh no, we're just doing 8th edition, we're not doing end times, promise. Anyways, with all that being said, let's just jump right in. So the first character we're going to talk about is of course Epidemious, mainly because we know he's going to be coming eventually. They've already added in his mount as a mount option, the Palanquin of Nurgle, and it just screams Epidemious. If we don't get him eventually, it's just going to be very sad. He is another plague bearer, but essentially he is Nurgle's accountant. Yeah, that's literally the best way to explain it. He's an accountant. His main job is essentially to, well, just survey battles, see who's dying, see what plagues are having effect, and how well of an effect they're actually having. He's an interesting character because he was written in such a weird way. Now, the reason why this character was so well liked is because his rule, his special rule known as the Tally of Pestilence, was really unique for Nurgle. It was almost cornate in a certain sense. So, how it worked was that anytime that a Nurgle demon was causing wounds to either friends or foe, and even to spells, you would have to take up a tally. As more and more wounds were dealt, they would then get buffs throughout army-wide. It was a really interesting mechanic which kind of works as to how the new mechanics are happening in the battles for the demons and the ogre kingdoms. However, these weren't temporary buffs, they were actually permanent and very powerful. You can see on screen right now at the very bottom, if you did 7 wounds in total, that would give you 1 strength for all your Nurgle demons. If you did 14 plus wounds, then you'd also get +1 toughness, which by the way was incredible. If you did 21 wounds, you'd get your Killing Blow special rule with all your Nurgle demons, and finally 28 plus wounds would allow you to reroll ward saves. Oh yeah, there was also the thing, if you were playing Nurgle and your enemy had demons of Nurgle and did damage, that would also go to your tally. The character itself was really fun. In bigger games you would take him and keep him safe in the middle of the battlefield as you pretty much just started slaughtering and getting your army stronger and stronger. If by any chance you were going over a 6-turn game, then there was a very high chance you could win just by pure absolute wall of flesh. We already know that such mechanics are easily translatable into the Total War series, and yeah, it could be a bit strong if they were permanent, but I mean, it kind of works. It's fun factor, it's thematic, and sometimes something needs to be overpowered. Plus, it's an easy character to make. It's literally just get a plague bearer and stick him on a palanquin and just make him a bit fatter. Yeah. Now, if we have to pick of where this character should go, it's obvious to the Nurgle Monogod faction because, well, he's a demon and it kind of works with how everything's going so far. Next we have Festus the Leech Lord, the first mortal of our list, and one of them with the most tragic story. Well, in fact, any mortal mostly that falls to chaos, specifically more so with Nurgle, usually has a bit of a sad story. It's just one of those tropes that Warhammer Fantasy had. A former doctor in the Empire driven mad when trying to seek a cure for an ailment that was sweeping across the Empire. Unfortunately for him, Papa Nurgle and loads of demons were speaking to him directly, and he eventually lost his mind. Now he has travelled up north and leads a war band of Chaos Warriors of Nurgle. When once he was a skilled doctor keeping ailments away, now he seeks to spread them throughout the Empire. He is very close to being that of a demonkin, not so much a demon, but in the thin line between mortal and demon. He had pretty cool rules in the tabletop and a very cool looking model. So the best things about this is he was a spellcaster, Law of Nurgle as you can imagine, but it was more his special rules. As you can see, it would give a unit, this is if it joined a specific unit, poison attacks and regeneration too. It was a really fun thing and it could work out quite thematically. Some new mechanics would have to come into play of course, but like come on, you see the model, it's kind of cool. Though mind you, pretty much all the Nurgle stuff I'm going to be showing today has really cool looking models. He could pretty much work well in the Monogod Demon faction if they add in some more mortals, as Nurgle has the least amount of mortals so far as we've seen, but it would also work well to have a Nurgle style character for the Warriors of Chaos. He wouldn't work well for Norsca. I have another character in mind for Norsca. Obviously this is my opinion and you guys could think of something different, so if you do have different opinions, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now we're going to talk about a very minor character, and this is Fator the Tainted. I believe he only appeared in one tabletop edition, and even then it was just a supplement known as the Storm of Chaos. This was the original End Times. So how this worked was Archaon the Everchosen was looking to ignite the End Times, and he had to gather lieutenants from all the different Monogod factions. These were mortal, demonkin type of warriors, one for each alignment, which would be one for Slaanesh, one for Tzeentch, one for Nurgle, one for Khorne, and one for Chaos Undivided. Fator, of course, is that for Nurgle. He's another Empire character. We're going to have to go with the same trope. Kind of sad story, he ends up getting chased away and so on. It's one of those things where you really feel bad for the Nurgle characters, like really feel bad for them. Eventually he runs off to Norsca, finds a tribe there and takes over. It's a cool model. It's a shame that it wasn't really in print for a long time because it just had this nice feel. A traditional character of a Chaos Warrior of Nurgle, so one of those things which we don't really see often nowadays on the tabletop, well still at the time of recording this video. Now he didn't really have anything special in terms of rules and so on. I think he was just kind of implemented as a generic Chaos hero. It's been a while since I've played anything to do with Storm of Chaos, but what I would see him implemented as is not as a legendary lord for any of the three factions, but instead as a legendary hero for Archaon, and Archaon alone. I'm going to make this brief as I'm going to heavily discuss this in a future video, but you know, there are 4 Monogod characters and 1 Undivided. It'd be kind of cool if Archaon could have some quests associated in a future Warriors of Chaos rework, which would allow him to then get these characters. There's all these different cool ones. Mostly people know these characters through just one, which is obviously Crom the Conqueror, but it would be kind of nice because obviously these have been known to be lieutenants. They wouldn't themselves be legendary lords, but they could work out to be a very thematic legendary hero choice. All 5 of them, if Creative Assembly want to go full ham, and it looks like they're wanting to go full ham in Warhammer 3 anyway. Okay, so now we're going to look towards an End Times character, well, characters, and I'm pretty sure nobody's going to complain because I know a lot of people want this. I'm of course referring to the Glocken, 3 brothers who are very drastically different. One's melee focused, the other one's a spellcaster, the other one's a gigantic monster, and yeah, it was quite a powerful miniature back in the days when he was introduced in the End Times, mainly because he was a level 4 wizard, which means a lot of different spells. Then he also had around 12 wounds, I believe. It's been a while since I've actually seen the Glocken in battle, but it was quite strong. Now, yes, monsters were kind of useless in 8th edition, but having 12 wounds made you a lot more useful. If memory serves, he has the most rules on the tabletop for Warhammer Fantasy ever, or at least is one of the top ones there. I think the first one works. Now, the reason why this character is so well requested, even by people who don't know what the Glocken are, is because, I mean, just look at the model. It's incredibly impressive. It's just absolutely massive. This would have to be even bigger than Skarbrand in Korgoth. It would just have to be absolutely huge. I'd say representation-wise, it would have to be what Kolek Sun Eater should actually be, because he's way too small in Total War Warhammer and he should be much larger. Again, tragic story. In fact, kinda wholesome at the very beginning, where Imperials went to Norsca in an effort to trade with them, teach them how to work farmlands and so on, try to make them a bit more civilized. But then the Imperials decided no, and slaughtered them all. The Glockens saw their parents getting murdered, and the blessing of Papa Nurgle kinda activated and turned them into these monstrosities. From there, their former lives are pretty much history, and this is what we have now. Again, this time I'm thinking Monogod Chaos, it just kinda fits, or even Warriors of Chaos. The thing is, he kinda fit everywhere. It's one of those weird situations, because the End Times kind of merged all demon factions. Well, it merged the demon factions, the Warriors of Chaos, Beastmen too. It was a weird time. I'd say Monogod would work very well here for the Glocken if more mortals get added in, so you can have a mixture of both. And not only that, but he's big, he's likely to probably be as big as Korgoth himself, just without the palanquin, so it would just fit with the theme of big characters leading the Monogods. Next, we've got a very big character, mostly because he has a very big mount. Tamukan, the Maggot Lord. Now, this is a character I still need to paint, and, well, I'll get to it one day. Though, with that being said, this character was introduced through the Forge World supplements for the Thrones of Chaos. It was supposed to be this big mega campaign with each book kind of centered on a different Chaos God. Of course, this first one was centered on Nurgle, but nothing came on the rest because I have no idea. It's just one of those things where Games Workshop start a project and then never finish it. And this is not the whole end times killing everything. This was just, yeah, they scrapped it, despite the fact that books were done. But let's not complain about that, because I could go on for that for hours. Tamukan's a really cool character because what you see is not the character you're actually playing. In fact, Tamukan is actually a lowly maggot. Very, very tiny. He was a parasite, so he would then go into whatever he killed and take over their body and so on and so forth. In fact, he would have 2 incarnations of models in the tabletop. This is the most well-known one because then you get this massive toad dragon mount, which, come on, is kind of cool. But there was another one which was based more on a Chaos Warrior. It's a character that had a lot of different backstory based on the son of the great Kurgan. It was just this really cool storyline that was just never finished, unfortunately. But it did bring a character which was very drastically different. We never really had a parasite. We didn't really even know if he was mortal or demon. Speculation always kind of landed with him being some sort of demonkin, which obviously makes a lot of sense, but even then, it's like a sentient speaking maggot. It was just kind of weird. This is an immensely popular character, and to be honest, he could work out really well for the Warriors of Chaos faction rather than the Monogod faction, as his storyline did have in a lot of different things, like Beastmen and Chaos Dwarves and so on, so it could work out really well if it was a Warriors of Chaos leader, but maybe being able to recruit some demons, as there was these special rules in the book too, but even better so having, say for example, a lot of Monogod style Warriors of Chaos. I don't know if this could happen or not because Creative Assembly have been a bit weird with these things, but it could be kind of fun. But if that can't happen, then just stick him in the Monogod stuff, just stick him in the generic Nurgle faction, because that's probably the best way to go, or else the character's not going to be as fun. And obviously bring the Toad Dragon, because, well, do I have to say Toad Dragon? Next we have a character which really should be attached to Tamukan, which is Kasich the Befouled. He's pretty much a legendary hero, as he joins up with Tamukan and kind of follows him in his adventures and so on. It's just one of those everyone needs a yes man type of storyline. He didn't really get mentioned throughout the book a lot. I do think that he died pretty early on, but he has a pretty cool looking model, and that's the most important thing. He has a unique model, unique artwork, unique rules, and yeah, it was just kind of cool. Funny enough, I do have this model and it is painted. Really, this character's not that important, but if he does get implemented as a legendary hero for Tamukan, it would work out very well. Legendary heroes need to be more prevalent in the Warhammer series, especially now that we're moving on to Warhammer 3, as everything worked out really well in the past DLCs, and then for some reason in the Silence of the Fury we had none, which was just confusing. Next we have a character which, interestingly enough, was decently popular. I honestly just can't put him into any ranking because, I'll be very honest with you, it was a character that I was just never really interested in, but this is Gutrot Spume, the Lord of Tentacles. What makes this character so special is the fact that he led a very large Nurglite navy. It was interesting as it was the very few times that naval battles would then be referenced throughout the Warhammer Fantasy series, as we haven't had a naval battle game in a while. There were rumors of a very powerful Nurglite navy, which he was the captain of, and it would have been really cool to have more different types of rules, more aquatic rules and so on in tabletop, but hey, you know, these things, well, they exploded, the world blew up. And I'll be very honest with you, I don't know how this character could be implemented to be special. I mean, obviously, you know, Putrid Bite Kings and so on as a unit to come alongside him, but even then, I mean, if there was naval battles in Warhammer 3, then this would be a perfect character for a DLC, because, well, yeah, naval character, naval battles, but yeah. Don't get me wrong, he's a pretty cool character, and he could fit quite well in the Warriors of Chaos roster. He could be a decent Legendary Lord character for the Warriors of Chaos, but I wouldn't put him as a DLC character. I'd say FLC works out quite well, because if we do get Blight Kings, and we don't know, because obviously Creative Assembly have said no end times, but they've existed before, let's just not get into that argument again in this video, because then it'll just be repeating it over and over. It would be better if they got implemented with a flagship character, like, say, for example, Tamokan, Epidemious, or, well, pretty much even Festus. Those are big characters, whereas Gutrot would probably be best served as a, well, FLC character, just not having to pay for it. I feel bad about saying this about this character, because the model does look cool, but yeah, I'm just being honest. Next, I'm going to cover 3 characters at once because, well, they kind of got released at the same time. I think they were all from the same kit too. And this is obviously the Magoth Riders. This is Twice Spawn, Rot Spawned, and Demon Spew. Each of them were very different characters. They were used for different things. They all had a very similar mount too, but there were special rules which kind of made them all a little bit different. It's just something kind of interesting. I believe one was a spellcaster, one was melee, and another one was more of a buffer, or 2 of them were melee. This is an issue with Warhammer Fantasy where a lot of named characters didn't get used. Now, the models themselves are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you can see it, well, sickening, but you get what I mean. They're cool, and it was some of the best casts that Games Workshop have ever released. It's just a shame that these characters got a little bit of lore, and then the end times happened. Well, this was during the end times, so nothing really was remembered about them. I don't even know what they're even doing in Age of Sigmar at this point, too. I don't know how it could work, maybe as some sort of legendary hero system, because even then the mounts aren't that different, just recolors, and the characters themselves wouldn't be too different. I don't know if these would ever get added in. It's just one of those things. It would be cool if they were just legendary heroes that you could go out and hire even if you were one faction or another. So as long as you were playing a Nurgle faction, it didn't matter if you were a Nurgle Chaos Warrior of the Warriors of Chaos faction, a Monogod faction, Norscan faction, or maybe even a Nurgle Beastman, but have access to it. I don't know if that would even be possible, though we've seen that Creative Assembly have been a bit more free when it comes to mechanics and so on. I mean, Total War Saga Troy had loads of really cool mechanics that even Warhammer still doesn't have. I think of all the characters that we've discussed today, I honestly wouldn't be mad if they just never got implemented. It's just one of those things. It's an end times character, so even then they're not high on the priority list, and yeah, they're just kind of forgettable. I'll be honest with you there. They have cool lore, don't get me wrong, but they implemented 3 characters in one go, and it was just kind of like, well, who cares? And we have 1 character left, which is probably best suited for Norsca because, well, he was a Norscan tribe leader. This is Valnir the Reaper, scion of Nurgle, a spellcaster and warrior of chaos who devoted himself completely to Nurgle. The character itself actually has a lot of lore, as he was alive around the time of Asavar Kul's invasion of Kislev. This was the Great War against Chaos, and died, but was revived in a whole undeaf, demonic type of state. It's a very strange thing, but he didn't regain full power and go full demon until pretty much the time of the end times, or a bit before, but he kind of faded away from the story for a bit. It's just one of these characters which kind of got a nice revival, even in the end. I mean, originally he was from 5th and 6th edition, and he did appear in the RPG books and so on, then completely disappeared until the end times itself. But the reason why this character could be a possible legendary character in the future is because Games Workshop do like him. Keep in mind that 5th and 6th all the way to end times is a massive distance of time, so if they remember him, there was a reason why they wanted to implement him for the end times and just have a little bit of story there, so it could work out pretty well. It's a character that is obviously well known, is liked, and could have a really interesting storyline. So my idea here would be something very different. You guys might not agree, but make him a legendary lord of Norsca. This would obviously be accompanying a Norsca rework or after, but we know one will have to happen eventually. And make his storyline focused around his ascension to demonhood, eventually going to the realms of Nurgle and becoming a demon. So at the beginning you'll have him as a mortal, and then afterwards you'll have him as a demon prince. Hopefully by that time we'll actually have demon princes in the game and maybe a mechanic to turn generic lords into that. So some characters which do ascend could have a well, 2 different models. I think that would be kind of cool. Where your campaign would focus around getting your legendary character to demonhood, which, yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? If you're a Chaos fan, I think you'd be all for it. But that's pretty much it when it comes to this character. I can't really think of anything else. Obviously, if you guys have any other ideas, then do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, so before I end this video, there's 2 things to discuss. First up, it's nice being able to speculate again, especially going back into old lore books and checking out characters and so on. Obviously, if you guys have any different thoughts, let me know. It's always great to discuss these types of things. And yeah, I mean, it's always nice to be able to do that, especially if Creative Assembly want to go quiet for like a day or 2 or whatever. This is the perfect time to be able to do so. Secondly, I do apologize I'm a bit slow with the responses lately on the comments. It's because I have started playing with a new band, well, it's actually an old band of mine, to play at a tribute concert of a friend of ours passed away recently and so on, and I've pretty much got a set list to learn, like, fast. Oh, I almost forgot, there was an actual third thing. So, I know a lot of people would be saying, yeah, but what about this great unclean one or that great unclean one? It's kind of like the same thing that I did with the Korn video. I just don't want to have the same demon over and over. I don't think Creative Assembly would want to do that, and neither would Games Workshop, because it would get kind of boring. And there's a breadth of characters. I mean, this isn't all of them. There are a few really, really minor ones with like 2 sentences of lore, possibly just about the same as Ghost. But these are the ones that are obviously the strongest contenders. Now watch me eat my words in a DLC where they bring a character with like 5 words. I would probably have a heart attack. Anyways, with all that being said, let me know what you think about these characters and how you think they could be implemented in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.